Good morning again. This is a reading of Respect in Ruins, Part 5, Respect as Transference, the error of extending one virtue into all virtues. Read by the author, D.S. Cook, for Apostoic.com. If you've stayed with this series through 4 installments, thank you. You've watched the modern concept of respect collapse under scrutiny. You've read that respect is an indifferent byproduct of the behaviors that you choose, is gained in measure by those who also choose those behaviors, and lost by those who choose otherwise. You've seen the respect equals agreement narrative crumble under pressure, the erasure of better and worse explained, and that you have gained none by acquiring envy as a substitute. Now, we reach the final distortion of this series, respect as transference. This is the NCF, nominal conquest fallacy, that occurs when respect is viewed as a fungible currency. Respect is an admiration and regard in a domain in which you are excellent, and when rightly ordered, is a natural response to demonstrated virtue in that domain. It does not accumulate in a bank account, ready to be spent or lent in other unrelated domains. The belief that mastery in one area automatically confers moral insight or competence in another unrelated area is both a logical fallacy and a spiritual danger. This error is far more likely to tarnish your regard and legacy than to bolster it, as we see so often in celebrity culture. Biblical foundations against transference. To the Christian, can it be shown that excellence in a particular skill is virtuous in God's eyes? It can, with a caveat. Scripture repeatedly affirms that genuine virtue is expressed through diligent excellence in one's calling. Yet, it never grants blanket authority or approval. 1 Corinthians 10:31 reads, "So, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God." This verse establishes that excellence itself is virtuous, but not without the prerequisite orientation towards God's glory and not one's own. Virtue in excellence of skill is predicated on the delivery of thanksgiving and all praise to the giver of that skill, God Himself. It is like taking credit for winning a raffle ticket, a thing that might have fallen to someone else, but happened to fall to you in God's ineffable providence. Colossians 3:23 reinforces this. Work with all your heart as working for the Lord. A short verse, but one that shows clearly the right-minded order of one's principles. God values hard work when it is done in alignment with His rightful authority over the hands and the brain that He gave you. The best of work, done with all your heart for the purposes of self-glorification, is not valued by the giver. Thus, a professional basketball player who masters his craft and directs that excellence toward God's glory is deserving of respect in his domain. However, Scripture sharply warns against the overreach of assuming one's strength equals universal competence. James 3:1 cautions, "Not many of you should become teachers, my fellow believers, because you know that we who teach will be judged more strictly." Proverbs repeatedly links wisdom with humility and warns that pride precedes destruction. Proverbs 11:2, Proverbs 16:18. The gifted man who demands respect in areas where he lacks excellence is not displaying strength, but hubris, pride, the very sin that brings the fall. True biblical respect is discerning, not indiscriminate. It is given according to fruit in a particular sphere, not transferred like a royal title. Matthew 7:16-20. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Stoic clarity on domain-specific virtue. The Stoics understood this with some degree of precision. For them, virtue, arete, was the only true good, but it required rigorous self-examination and discipline within one's sphere of control. Epictetus taught that we must focus on what is ours to master and refuse to claim authority over what is not. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly warned against the vanity of seeking universal admiration. He wrote in Meditations, "Don't be distracted by the opinions of others. Stay focused on your own work." The Stoic does not chase transferred respect. He cultivates excellence where he stands and accepts that reputation is ultimately indifferent, adiaphora. The man who excels at basketball, but widely publishes his pontifications on economics, theology, or governance, is behaving as if his athletic virtue transfers to those areas. He is violating a core Stoic principle: know the limits of your expertise. To claim more is irrationality and self-deception. A man may excel in more than one area, this is true. But a man who seeks to use celebrity in one skill to influence areas in which he has no skill or no excellence is destined to destroy the respect that he has earned. The fallacy in action. This transference error appears most potently in celebrity, among actors and athletes. LeBron James is an extraordinary athlete. His work ethic, physical mastery, and ability to create value through entertainment are worthy of respect in that domain, provided that he glorifies the giver of those skills. Millions have found real enjoyment, community, and emotional outlet in his excellence. Yet when he moves beyond basketball into politics, education policy, or social theory, he receives no such credit from serious minds. Nor should he. Athletic excellence does not confer political wisdom, historical insight, or theological clarity. The respect earned on the court does not magically migrate to the ballot box or the classroom. When he insists that it should, he becomes a cautionary tale rather than a sage. His legacy will be forever tainted by these attempts. The same pattern appears in minor celebrity and in ordinary life. The hyper-competent technician promoted to manager on the basis of technical skill alone often fails catastrophically in leadership. Technical mastery does not equal emotional intelligence, justice, or prudence. Anecdotal examples. An individual that I knew was extremely gifted in her field, one of the very best technicians in her company. On that basis, she was made a manager. But there was a big problem. She had terrible people skills, no sympathy or justice, and lacked the social intelligence necessary to interact in a manner that wasn't awkward and abrasive. She demanded the impossible, gave bad reviews to great employees, mocked, ridiculed, and belittled everyone under her authority ad nauseum. As a result, the turnover in her department was, well, entire. Nobody wanted to work for this woman, despite her immense skill. 1 year in, I was her senior team member. Everyone had left for happier environments. After sticking it out for 2 years, I too abandoned her, no longer able to work beneath her thumb. Yet, I cannot help but feel some sympathy for her. She was a victim of the transference fallacy, partly through her own overreach, and partly the short-sightedness of those who placed a person of her makeup in that losing position. Respect for one virtue does not transfer to another. This is mere reality, not cruelty. As the Stoics and Scripture both teach, character and competence are tested in their proper spheres. Another case involved an English student of mine during my many years teaching non-native speakers abroad. She held a doctorate and was highly credentialed in a medical field that I can no longer remember. Having experimented with multiple English teachers, she landed on me, deeming me excellent in that domain. We had many fascinating conversations together on all areas of life, despite our drastic difference in values. You see, Dr. Elaine was an openly promiscuous woman. She loved to talk about her exploits with great pride, boasting of the many different kinds of people she had slept with and sexual types she had experienced. She was now in her 60s. She lived alone, had been divorced 5 times, and mothered no children. Yet still, at an age where one should have acquired much wisdom, she was continuously on the hunt for her next sexual partner. I would listen to these tales and correct and guide her English, as was my job, always trying to redirect to a more appropriate topic. Occasionally, when asked, I would give insight into my own Christian worldview and my monogamous lifelong commitment to my wife. The collapse occurred one day when the conversation turned to child rearing. My 6-year-old son had burst into my home office during teaching hours and disrupted the session with loud vocalizations, a thing he well knew to be prohibited. When I scolded him and told him no, this woman nearly had a conniption. "You cannot tell no to a 6-year-old, she said, in her thick German accent, before launching into a long tirade about the correct way to raise children with complete liberty and license. After several failed attempts to deflect and turn the focus back to her English class, I politely but firmly put her in her place. I made it clear, as kindly as I could, that her opinions had no authority in my home. She flew into a rage, belittling my credentials and education. "I am a doctor," she said. "You are not. You are an English teacher with a lower degree. You do not have qualifications to say no to me in matters of psychology." A telling portrayal of one who had never said no to herself. She could not bear it when others did so, and thought that this should be the desired future for my children as well. When I refused her again, She stormed out of the virtual classroom, and I never saw her again. Thus, she put an end to a 1.5-year-long relationship, one that she had searched hard to find, having frequently stated her appreciation for our lessons and how long she had hunted for this experience. She destroyed it by her own overreach and hubris. Another victim of the respect transference NCF. Respect is not a fungible currency. The liberating conclusion of the Respect in Ruins series. Once we see respect clearly, we can begin the long process of freeing ourselves from chasing it. Respect cannot be demanded. It cannot be transferred. It can only be earned. Even then, it can only be earned in limited domains and will be lost in equal proportion from those who choose other behaviors and values. Attempting to design a society in which everyone gets respect in all areas, regardless of virtue or choices, is no more desirable than it is possible. It is like trying to supply a product to everyone in the world without any means of production. It violates both natural law and divine order. Therefore, pursue virtue with all your might. Do your work heartily unto the Lord. Cultivate excellence where God has placed you. Let the respect that comes, or does not come, remain a matter of indifference. Your worth is not located in the approval of others, but in faithful obedience to Christ and the disciplined cultivation of a character that is like His. The man who lives this way cannot be manipulated by praise or destroyed by criticism. The Respect in Ruins series ends here, but the pursuit of virtue has only just begun. Get to it, friends. The end of Respect in Ruins Part 5, Respect as Transference, the error of extending one virtue into all virtues. For more parables, articles, social and moral commentary on current events, Stoic concepts presented from a Christian worldview, please visit Apostoic.com. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. It makes an enormous difference in spreading this content to more viewers, and it's completely free to you. It's the best support that you can offer freely to the ministry of Apostoic.com. Thanks for listening.